Today's nice. You can hear the sounds of children, but there's sometimes in the summer, and you get more people coming in, and you hear at night. Sometimes at night, you'll hear the sound of what I call evil children. There's evil. Sometimes it comes out at night, and whether you want to call evil just that gritty, emotional, turbulent shock effect that can come through the human mouth, because as I say, it is such an incredible portal. And sure enough, I can tell you stories where I hear, and then I see, and then I feel, and it's not nothing. It's not nothing. You can feel where it is, where it's coming from, and it comes out and touches me sometimes. It's like an electrical force, like an electrostatic force. Evil is like something in the. That's why people talk about an evil wind. It has a sort of electrostatic smell. Like if you sniffed the world and said, "Oh, it smells like an evil wind." Today, there's no evil wind. When you were a child, there was many pleasant winds, and who knows that you sniffed them out. You sniffed out the many pleasant winds of the world, and if that was all you did, like being the windmill of the stars, you did a good job. You were like vacuoles and cups and buckets of the windmill of the stars. To eat of the earth as you did, to find your tastes so well refined by your occupations, as to testify no better than in the manner with which you nourish yourself by earth and sky, by wastes of mind and mirth. And holy matrimony, the heavens themselves which turn with you your thoughts so high and low and true. You may think that poetry comes easy to me, but it doesn't. Does stripping come easy to a stripper? Does she enjoy exposing her vaginal area to just anybody for the price of a rum and coke? I don't speak of myself necessarily, but in fact I do. I did go to a strip joint, and I did pay for rum and coke, and I did see a tender little pussy staring back at me going, "You will never, ever, ever get to touch the likes of me." And so I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to touch that. I can just buy a kumquat. I can bite into the cleft of a ripe peach and be much more well nourished with no chance of alimony. I wonder if all impotent hobos and homos and like make up stories about how they're better than the human vagina. But if you had spent time around me in my life, you would know why I don't have a girlfriend. I don't assert myself. I have a basic and innate fear of women. I do adore the more beautiful feminine incarnations. I do, with complete admiration. I can look at a woman at a distance and I'm done for the day. You can tell the really feminine celestial types. You could write poetry to girls like that. Not really to them, but I mean, they are very inspiring. Since I was young, a certain kind of girl. I like the modest dress. Kind of like she spent the day in the sunlit studio doing a painting of daisies with an allusion to sort of a distant desert sun and a man in silhouette with a horse moving across the distant purple clefts of fjord and stream, hoping to return home to an oasis of fresh and nubile proportions. And you open the door, click, and she says, "Hello, my dear. I am currently immersed in an ecstatic vision of the union of our special places. I'll be with you in a moment." The brush is as though a phallus, the canvas is though the various tender clefts which you yourself have many times chronicled and sang in your own virile poetry. And even now, as I move the this brush across another cleft of canvas with a purple-pink combination of juicy paints. I think of the way you like to touch my neck while we're in bed at night, like you're trying to recollect something beautiful that completely fills your mind with a purpose that alone can give you peace. And then I hear you crying to your mother. And your stories, they take such strange twists. It always seem to come back to your mother. If I were a psychiatrist and a thinking woman, I'd think that she didn't feed you enough of her breast milk. And now you are tied to her for life, in the hope that she'll start lactating again at the age of 75. Oh, lactating women will never be as good for me as my mommy. Lactating women will never be. Like, no woman will ever have the milk that my mother had. What can I say? No woman will ever have the milk that my mother had. I mean, got milk? No, because only my mom got the milk. Like, no one's got milk. I don't need your milk. I'm not asking got milk. You know, got milk? I don't care. I don't need it. My mom was dried up a long time ago, and I like to go back to the well, just to look at it. Drop a penny in there and go, thanks for your teat. Like it was like trick or teat there for a while. You know what I'm saying? In my memoirs, it'd be like the first 3 years were trick or teat. Trick or teat. It was a tricky teat indeed, because I was deprived of it quite soon. I recollect very distinctly, being very much possessed of what was called a dummy. And it's like, what an unfortunate use of words. And you put it in your mouth and had plastic in it, and you just, I think I had some kind of dependency. In fact, my brother ended up sucking his thumb until he was like 4 or 5 years old or older. Like, seriously, like, what the fuck was going on with that, right? And I don't think my mom really got the idea of breastfeeding at all. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. But I do remember being very attached to it, and that was like some of my first time my brain was really starting to grow after kind of the first death. You have your birth, and then there's like the first 2 years people pretty much ignore the fact that you have a mind of your own. And a female womb is the perfect place to learn a new language. And if a woman just knew her body, she could speak to her baby, because her baby is speaking the language of heaven and earth and her body and her. Like, basically, she speaks your language, and she speaks her own language. And she's a pretty good judge of whether or not she likes you or not. And she's going to like you at all if you don't connect to them. You got to listen to your children. Take the time, as much as you find the right time to get an orgasm. Spend some time outside. Go see. It's like getting a signal on your cell phone, for Christ's sake. You got to go for a walk, find a place near a stream, get creative, throw a rock, a stalk at something, make a sound, pray like a wolf, whatever you gotta do to just ring the bell of that environment, and maybe listen to their voice, listen to yourself. People aren't asleep, they're dead. And we come back from the dead all the time in all kinds of ways throughout our lives. And, my mind is stirred, like, say, to my dummy, which I would have had probably before the age of 3, no doubt. And that's taking me into a territory where you usually don't even have a lot of conscious recollection. I'm very fascinated by things because I've noticed, anyways, I'm not sure if other people are aware of this or not, but my mind has very distinct impressions of lots of things that are really important to understand in my life. It's really something. I gotta go. I thank the people of West Virginia. I'm a man on the move. I have a dynamic nature. I need constant new stimulation. I need to feel like the earth is moving beneath my feet, that the ingress of my physical body meets with the approbation of the many striations and dreamlines of destiny. And as they move with the heartbeat of the many currents of the world, and the currents of the currents that cool through the pubic hair of my people, through the strands and gossamers of the limbs of human desire, as it drenches itself in streams and nectars of celestial music, emerging here and there from the illustrations which great artists make out of their minds, as they draw forth from the many waters which reflect themselves by whole and in part, and with the birth of every new heaven of green and gold. Yet, new heavens, to be told, soft like the brush upon the bark of a tree, with the touch of song or a murmur from others' lips, our fathers, very fresh, meted out, one generation to the next. Boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Boom, boom, boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Boom, boom, boom goes the sun. Boom, boom, boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Hey, boom goes the sun. Oh, boom goes the sun. I see the flesh of the stone. I see the mountains high. I see the roots of my people. And finding time. And even as they go, they travel many miles. They are one flesh. These eyes. I walk upon the stone. I have a father's curves. I got a lot of time. I got a lot of pain. I see a lot of people. I hear a lot of rain. I hear a lot of voices. I see a lot of stuff. Boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Boom, boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Boom. Boom goes the sun. Boom, 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 boom goes the sun. Boom, boom goes the sun. Woo! Boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. When I was younger, I didn't need the words. I didn't feel my father's curse. never fail. And the currents of the mountain and the current of the sea, and the one that we make out of this is what we can't see. You see, they got money, hey, and we got a little time. It's like a little generation, like a song rhyme. It's got a little poetry and how the world works. You're gonna have to make a song with your lips if the sun. Boom, boom, goes the sun. Boom, boom, goes the sun. I get strength from the people and the limbs of the trees and the drum of the steeple that I feel in my knees. I like the seagulls. I really like the grass. I like the great water sounds of my feet when my time can pass. I like the sound of the sky. I like the sound of the stream. The bells of the wood at ancient temples where I like to lean. I lean against the footsteps. And you think that I'm doing nothing, I do what I must. I boom the sun, boom the sun, boom the sun, boom the sun. Boom, boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Yeah, boom, boom goes the sun. And we haven't said of the moon. We haven't spoken of the stars. We haven't addressed all the people that have their own hearts. They've got their own feelings. They've got their own thoughts. They are stuck in the mad, pure river of their thoughts. And the thinking people in the safety in their great repose. And their lovely little silence. Let us spirit know. And our lovely little thunder under the sheets. And the swaying of the grasses in a child's wild dreams. And the touch of our skin. And the wind in the air. And a photograph freedom that brushes a child's hair. And the senses in their beautiful brains. And every tree and every song that gains. The simple measures of the changing wind and the tides of the sun and the stars. And you want to know what they mean? You want to know what they mean? They make a child out of time. Give that child a mother, a pattern, and a rhyme. And you will never be lost. He will never lose faith. It'll hear a thumping of the sun in his chest. He'll know what to say. Boom goes the sun. 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 Oh, some sort of really nice flowers down there. It's like purple or something. Nice freaking stuff. Boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. And you know that the boom goes the sun. And you know that the boom goes the sun. All you needed to know that song and the knowledge was to be born from your mom. The flesh of your long sung forth like the day. Not a breath I could breathe out of you that knew the way. Yeah, boom like the sun. Boom like the sun. Yeah, boom like the sun. Boom, boom, boom like the sun. Boom like the sun. Boom like the sun. My breath slips from my breath. Boom like the sun, boom like a boom, like a boom like the sun, boom like the sun, boom like the boom like the boom like the sun, boom like the sun, boom like the boom like the boom like the sun, and the boom like the sun. a stone for you. Great wonders of the sea. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 I gotta see my hairy days. I got a blurry purple-headed face hiding in my hair, and the blood I lost when worries lost to no one's lady, and no one heard what troubles I hear myself making times would make us sacred. The times I had that stayed so fair, they never passed at all. They were not like the other times. They never came. Though I knew time had their sense moving day to day. I love the way you never went away. We're so proud of all the sounds that you make, even flatulent sounds like music. If it's better that it comes out of you than stays someplace where you would not like that fart to stay, an unwanted guest in your digestive tract. Okay, that one blew my hair back, folks. Now, here's another song from a man I like to call Better Than You. It's also the name of the song. Better than you, I took more of my yes than any man ever asked for, which make you wonder why anyone would ask for a life like mine. I think it's 'cause me and the angels had a bet how long I could live with a never getting it. They said never, and I said watch this. Sure enough, no one gave me a kiss. There's nothing better than being alone and never having to go to a job that only makes sense. I couldn't possibly do this work if I couldn't come home and twerk for thee. And I would be like, hey, guess what I'm doing, honey? You're like, I don't know, like trying to shit your pants or something. It's like, no, I'm twerking. Oh, honey, That's not working. And that's the way our nights would be. The banter of her and I. Would we read like, oh, what's the author's name? I actually like the name of the author more than the books. Oh, and we'll read these authors at night in front of a completely futile fire that doesn't give off barely any heat. And we'll always have the same discussion and be like, why do we have these fires? They're really completely pointless unless we have like a wood stove. Like, because, honey, it's nice and it's warm. And I've spent a lot of money on making this room look like an antique version of Queen Margaret's bathroom. Yes, alright. That would explain the monumental stacks of Modern Living magazines. I commend the way you've decided to rededicate your time now that our child has gone to college. Can we turn up the heat? No. For prophylactics. I have a funny feeling she's gonna fuck like a minx. She's been so quiet all these years. I think we need to send her cartons of prophylactics. These young men, you can't trust them. They'll mount her in a nonce. We want to make sure we trap the penis in a kind of leather bundles of spermicide laden handcrafted prophylactics by Raven I think you take too much interest in our daughter's love life. Love, it's not love, it's lust. Love comes later, after you give up on life in general in order to pursue the modern craft of getting along with the somewhat hellish conditions of the planet, while speaking like everything's good after you've had 1.5 cocktails of your drug of choice. These are the tales you tell yourself to stave off what happens to the erections of the modern military establishment. It spends $100 million a year to get a boner. Just think, if they could actually get a boner, they could spread that money around for other purposes. Their children are losing money because they can't get a boner. They're supposed to defend your country. Their guns ain't loaded, man. It's like when you've converted your fertility into mass homicide. It's like something wrong there, people. That means like every year, probably 10% of your daily earnings is going to help the American military establishment to get an erection. So it's like pretty much what I'm doing right now for the Federal Reserve is helping some Marine out there get a hard on. So let's dedicate this minute to some strange dude in a U.S. Marine uniform getting chubby in his chinos. Okay, here we go. Dog is barking in tune. It's nice. should convert my entire apartment to a studio and have a girls party. Hey everyone, I've got an extra set of loofahs in the bathroom. There's 50 flavors of lip balm here to put on and try kissing each other. My girls party went off without a hitch. Boom, boom goes the sun. Boom, boom goes the sun. Boom, 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 boom goes the sun. 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 What else people reading this thing? Yeah. Boom, boom. It's amazing the small footprints you see on my children. It's neat. Boom, boom goes the sun. Boom, boom goes the sun. Boom, boom goes the sun. Boom goes the sun. Boom boom goes the sun. Boom boom goes the sun. Boom boom goes the sun. Goes the sun, boom, boom, goes the sun, boom, goes the sun, dee, 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 boom, boom, goes the sun, dee, 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 boom, boom, goes the sun. Hey, that's a jellyfish. Boom, boom, goes the sun. Looks like a female reproductive system. Yeah, reproductive systems. The reproductive systems of the earth. I'm speaking to every animal's reproductive system on behalf of Lucifer himself. Go we! Woo! Pussies out there, keep on keeping on. And penises, proboscis, and other various prong-like, phallic-shaped things used to impregnate the female of your species. I salute you. Caveat emptor, motherfucker. Seize the pussy. And if the compulsion seizes you as such, you should mount her at a nonce. After the preliminary scores have been satisfied, and the state has released your semen to a lawful distribution to a suitable receptacle. This has been read out loud in the love chamber. If you still feel aroused and in that special state of mind, feel free to go ahead with that man's consent. There's nothing like fucking under the consent of the king to make everyone really swishy, dishy, and delishy. It's a swishy, delishy. I love pieces of wood. And you'll see older men, on the beach picking up wood and tapping on it like they know something special about this wood, like it was the swing sat upon by many young bottoms, the sweat of many years of young female hormones bleached into its wonderful plank. In the distance, someone's going, "Oh, look, that man found a nice piece of wood, and I think he's telling a story about it. I think he's telling himself, this wood, I'm going to carry it in my heart. Nice and secured for many years of impotence, with which I've distinguished myself, none too much to none too many people. I'm going to put it in my home. I'm going to set it up over to darken my door with the words, Dr. Nymphomania. Young girls knock 3 times. Policemen knock once and then leave. I don't have nothing left to do. Portray myself as a pedophile. It's the undiscovered country. In fact, that's what I'll call it. The undiscovered country. School for girls. And one particular boy who would like to see everything's possible within the scope of the law, just like any teacher. I think the thing is that you don't want to be around other people's children. You don't want people around your children because children really are an open book. That's the thing. I don't think that's nice. They're vulnerable, just by nature. They're vulnerable by nature. You should take advantage of that. Pussies, the puss, really, the puss, the whorish manhole for the evacuations of the seminal fluid of our times. Kind of like how I think of my literary canon. See, silence is gaping with my maw and begs to be filled with the copious ribbons of my verbal jism. This is my corporate mandate, unsungheroes.com. Now, if I might gather a little more attention than I'm usually worth, in a very important public announcement of the fact that I'm going to be performing a live circumcision of myself at 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm bringing it in a pot of oil to boil. And then I'm going to put it in a letter and put one of the Queen's own stamps on it and send it to Buckingham Palace and tell her to use it as a suppository. She's starting to feel a little glum about the unstinting dominion which she holds over the entire human race and every resource known to man. And such snide attentions which never cease to amaze leadership. There's a certain kind of funny to that. You'll have to admit. A certain kind of funny. You can title my book. A certain kind of funny. With a blurred out picture of my penis. Who is behind the penis? And someone with advanced software of depixelating. It's his cock. No more mysteries. The unauthorized biography of Landon, the cock-faced man. The unauthorized misery, you mean? I did not authorize this misery, and who did? I went to go to the Hotel California and ask them for my money back. Welcome to the Hotel California, where the scrambled porn always has a good old look. Sometimes you can see something in it at the Hotel California. If you just sit there long enough, and you're like, you might just see, like, oh, that's definitely a penis going in the vagina. Yes, I got that for free. It's such a lonely place. Welcome to the Hotel California, where the scrambled porn take all kinds of forms. I think I see Mickey Mouse. What is wrong with me? I see Minnie doing something that Minnie Mouse has never done before. I don't want to see you naked. I don't want to feel your smooth ass skin. Makes me wonder if chocolate doesn't feel like the silk of your breast and your nipple in my hairy palms. In my soul. proclaim the great mercy of touching you where your thong used to be. Sorry, that's hilarious. I'm really getting tired. I'm so tired. So tired. I'm so tired. I cannot eat a thing. I don't know if you're male or female. If you're female, bend over and spread your legs. Oh, she stopped. That is a very female gait, which is. It's like she's a prime time concho, which is like, take your hand out of your pocket. Are you happy to see me?